From when you first come into life, as a baby, everything that literally sticks within your physical mind represents the idea of focus. Focus has been the bridges, the containment points that represent the architecture of the ego. From all that you have been taught, from all that you have observed, for all that has been brought forward to your attention through the basis of focus that has stayed with you, that has cemented its particular essence together within your mind, has been the entire basis of the ego architecture. Whenever you see that single focus, that line that shoots off in the distance, pointing to that particular element, this is where the ego itself has cemented, like quick drying cement, pertaining to the solidification of that particular element. The ego itself, in regards to its distortions, have literally been brought together as a mainframe, relating to cemented focus, solidification factors that have, in that sense, had communities built around them. This is why that when many of you in that sense attempt to deconstruct the physical ego, that there are fail-safes that will come together. If you attempt to take the ego down one pillar at a time, other fail-safes will be initiated to literally bringing that particular pillar, shall we say, back into the mainframe of the ego mind. The whole idea is to see the ego as the main frame, is to attempting to understand, not attempting to take down one particular pillar at a time, not attempting to take down one particular adjacent form of structure of the ego at one point in time. You are simply here to observe the ego, and that through the observation of the ego, what truly works in regards to the restructuring of the mainframe comes from admittance, comes from the idea that you are befriending your vulnerability. So anytime that you feel, oh, well, the ego responds when I do this, I guess it's now time for me to destroy it, to put some mines there and blow it up, and that will help to resolve the situation. No, it will regenerate. This is a mainframe that cannot be forcibly taken down. You cannot play within the confines of the ego, within the mentality of the ego, and expect to transcend it. The whole idea here is that you are looking primarily at what the ego does not want you to look at. By not being able to follow up with what you are looking at beyond the ego does not know how to respond. It therefore becomes confused. Because as you are looking at more of what you are not, through that which represents the particular attempted barriers of the ego, you are understanding more of its architecture, of its archetype, and that the ego does not know how to adjust in regards to what it does not have relationship with. So, for example, if you feel that there are certain financial difficulties that you have been conflicted with for a great deal of time, and that through one particular moment in your day, you were able to attain a certain degree of realization of how you could attract more money into your life through a particular learning of value through yourself. The ego really does not know how to respond to that, because now it sees that money is coming forward, that you are beginning to bring yourself more into a degree of higher value, when all the barriers before had seen yourself belittled in lower value. Therefore, the ego, in that sense, becomes speechless. It does not know how to present itself dynamically to you, because there is no rapport in regards to its logical explanation of how through value you were able to attain money. Because this is all happening, and the ego is still attempting to diversify how it happened. So when you are looking to observe the ego architecture, it all begins through looking through the depths of yourself to where the ego is attempting to confine you to preventing yourself from looking. It's not that the ego in that sense really has done this on purpose. It's that through the program itself within your reality, the ego has been trained to do this through a great deal of, shall we say, stimuli that represents external environment. Now, the whole idea here is that the way that you conduct yourselves in regards to the earlier points of your lives relating to upbringing has all been brought together through the facets of focus. And this is where focus is not always the necessity. It is awareness. But focus has created your systems. Focus has created your conditioning levels in regards to educational barriers, in regards to the illusions of your morality structure, in regards to the fundamentals pertaining to, shall we say, how to enact with everybody, how to behave when meeting a certain person, how to judge if something is not done properly in accordance to the system. So therefore, the ego is not purposely doing this for you since the beginning of your life upon this planet in this incarnate vessel. It simply has been programmed in that way based upon much of the external stimuli contained within your environment. So again, from that which has been solidified through this quick drying cement that represents the line of focus that the ego has created, the idea here is to, again, bringing that hard, quick dry cement back into liquid form. Bring it so it can liquefy. And again, that comes through the entirety of the mainframe. By looking at yourself and saying, well, I felt that I was very insecure with money. I was not able to trust myself. I feel that I am fearful of what change can bring. These are all just fundamental examples of how you are attempting to understand the mainframe and the purpose to why these barriers are placed here. The ego is basically containing you within these particular confines to keeping you sane. That's the whole idea. It's keeping you contained within an environment to where fear is minimalized. And when the fear starts to bring itself up, the ego attempts to go into extreme measures of shoulds or shouldn'ts, or what ifs, or what ifs. Oh, but if you go that way, what if this happens? Should you really do this? You shouldn't be doing this. This should not happen. No, you should go this path instead. It's the most logical course. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't trust this person, even though you've never met them, etc., etc., etc. And so again, the extremes of the ego itself bring itself together when there are, shall we say, threats to cross the cemented borders, the barriers, the blockades. It also comes to the point in regards to your natural state of sending and receiving. That many of you are very, very willing to send, to give so much of yourselves to others. Very, very few of you are willing to graciously receive. And this is where the blockages come. This is how you do not understand yourself. To receive is really to understand yourself. It is to be moving more into the internal quest of looking deeper into your own divine architecture. And many of you do not do this. You feel that I'm going to give myself to everybody else. I'm going to surround myself and all these good people, and I'm going to help them. I'm going to devote my entire life to assisting every single one of them. Well, what about you? Oh, I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried about me at all. I'm just looking into helping others. I only want to help them. I only want to make sure they get where they want to go. And whereas this is, in that sense, commendable to that idea, this does not help yourself. Because basically what's happening is that all of these reflections of the individuals who you are manifesting within your own life are attempting to reach back to you as well, but you are blocking them because you are addicted to the external reality. You are addicted to the hologram, and the hologram is saying, oh, don't worry about me, don't worry about me, I'm just here to help you. And what you are doing is you are fundamentally shutting them down because they are not willing to be able to send their love to you because you are constantly blocking it. So therefore it becomes inert, and this is where conflicts can rise. So it is very important that you are able to manifest directly the purity between sending and receiving. So again, much of the receiving end of the flow of energy is often blocked through the ego, because the ego only wants you to continue to do what you can do within the boundaries of its limitation. It has these conditional premises. So once again, the more that you are able to express your vulnerabilities, the more that you are able to fundamentally apply that which represents the befriending of your own admittance through your life, the more you are able to look upon the grid of the ego, of its architecture, and the more that that grid will naturally begin to shift itself. You really don't have to do anything in regards to the manual manipulation of the grid itself. The cement barriers become liquefied based upon your own expression of your vulnerability. When you express vulnerability, you are expressing love, because there are no boundaries preventing yourself from knowing who you are anymore. The feeling that you are no longer feeling shame in regards to this situation has happened, that you are no longer feeling fear of what might be, rather than allowing yourself to be here, right now, in the moment, as is. This is the understanding, and this is how you are literally able to transcend the archetype, the architecture of the ego. As you naturally move into your states of comfort through your vulnerability, through that process, automatically, those cement walls will liquefy, and the ego itself will restructure itself in regards to a minimalized capacity, functioning in regards to the barriers that have been transcended through your adoption of vulnerability. We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis from Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this particular broadcast being brought forward through the interface of your collective consciousness through your internet. Thank you very much. Farewell for this timing, and we now return to the conduit. Goodbye for now.